And in related news, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says a no-fly zone should be created in Syria to protect part of it from attacks by Syria's air force. Erdogan says he has discussed the issue with President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden, but did not explain how the no-fly zone should be created. Erdogan also says Turkey will take a more active role in the international fight against the ISIL, following the release of Turkish hostages held by the militants. He says the necessary steps over Ankara's involvement in the war on the ISIL would be taken by Parliament in early October. But he did not specify what those steps will entail. Turkey has been one of the regional countries that have supported ISIL's campaign in Syria since the beginning of the conflict in the Arab country in 2011. Let's go to Ohio and talk to Gordon Duff, senior editor with Veterans Today. Welcome to the program, sir. Mr. Duff, just how genuine is the West in its so-called anti-ISIL coalition? And doesn't this demand by Turkey show the true intentions of the West and anti-Assad forces by taking part in the so-called anti-ISIL campaign?
Well, I think we're certainly seeing the true intentions of Mr. Erdogan. If there's a no-fly zone to be implemented anywhere, I would suggest that it be over Turkey. I was listening to Webster Tarpley discuss the jihadists being brought into Syria. They're all flown into Turkey from as far away, not just Chechnya, they're coming from the Philippines, Indonesia. More than this, the oil that's being taken is 100 times more than anyone's speaking of. And the only way this oil can be stolen is by being loaded into the Turkish and Israeli-owned Baku-Ceyhan pipeline that empties into the Mediterranean through 5 loading berths south of the city of Ceyhan. And this is managed by NATO, and it's managed by the Turkish Navy. And this is providing the funding right now, because we're seeing a transitional period for ISIS where they are moving from funding from Qatar and from Saudi Arabia. They're becoming self-funding. They're beginning to not just pay off for themselves, but they're beginning to make a profit for their partners as well. And in that case, by partners, we mean Mr. Erdogan very much as a pipeline partner, an oil partner with ISIS. Certainly the Israelis are an oil partner. To this extent, those companies within the US and the West that will be making billions theoretically training anti-terrorist terrorists, the insanity of that is almost beyond discussion, will all be making money. ISIS is a business, very much a business. President Obama has decided to make this a very long-running business. And one of the ways of doing this, of course, is restricting the Syrian Air Force. How can they maintain military operations protecting their country in a multi-front war that's obviously brought on, as we all agree, by foreign-based forces being brought into Syria without having air cover over their forces? This is insane. It's a violation of their sovereignty. It's a violation of the rules of sanity. Erdogan has exposed himself as something we need to watch very closely, and someone we need to believe very, very little.
With all this said, so one can conclude that Turkey has been playing a major role in exacerbating the situation and helping ISIL advance. So how much would Turkey become a victim and experience chaos and terror by ISIL?
Turkey has a tremendous military. They're more than capable of reaching down and crushing ISIL anytime they wanted to. They could move armored divisions into Mosul in 2 days. It would be no trouble at all. Turkey has a very effective, very modern military. They have a tremendous air force. They're very well disciplined fighters. The U.S. learned that in the Korean War. The best fighters that were in that war by far were the Turks. They're better than anyone the U.S. brought in. The problem is Turkish leadership, and as Webster Tarpley had mentioned earlier, this rather bizarre relationship that stretches into the secret services of Georgia and into Chechnya, where weapons are being brought in, advanced weapon systems are going to be brought in. We see this going on right now that are being brought into ISIL, Daesh. We're also, and this is the other thing I'm reiterating, we're watching the economic factors. And as this oil game, and this is a major oil game that's being played using their oil and offsetting this against losses out of Libya and they're pushing the markets down with this ultra cheap oil. There's a plot here that involves pushing oil prices down to punish Russia, and we've seen a drop in the ruble over the last couple of days. This is part of a grand global game here. And when people talk about, especially your prime minister there, about the reach that's going around the world, it will be both violence, but it will also be economic as well.
The Iranian president, you meant?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. All right, we'll leave it there for the time. Many thanks to Gordon Duff, senior editor with Veterans Today from Ohio. Thanks for your thoughts there, sir.